if he wins, if he looks good in that fight, he's going to fight another fight. And if that happens, then I would bet 100% he'll fight for BKFC. Why wouldn't he? What will he do for the valuation of the company if he fights for BKFC? He'll double or triple it, and then he just double or triple his interest in this. And that's way more than he's going to get fighting anywhere else.
He is the president, CEO, and the man in charge of BKFC, and they have a massive calendar coming up. Of course, a lot of people looking forward to October 4th in Newark, New Jersey. Mike Perry's return, Frankie Edgar's return. It is always my great pleasure to speak to the man behind bare-knuckle, Dave Feldman. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, Damon, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Long time. Obviously, we go back a long ways, and it's been great to see the success of BKFC. So can you give me a sense of just like how business is right now? Because it seems like you went from, I would say, a BKFC card like every 4 to 6 weeks, and now like I don't go a week without a BKFC card almost.
Man, we're just so busy. We're a little overwhelmed, but we're handling it. We're bringing in a bigger team. Everything's working out great. The international expansion is going crazy. The talks with bigger TV deals are doing great. Bigger sponsorships. Everything's really, really moving in the right direction. I want to ask you a question, though, Damon. You were probably one of the first mainstream guys that interviewed me. Did you ever think that we would be here today?
You know, I'll be honest, to this level, probably not, because I was like, are people going to catch on to it? And I loved it. You know, I did, but I was like, I just don't know. But it's been awesome to see like how big it's gotten, like how much attention this sport's gotten. And I love it. I'm so happy for you, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you, my man. You were one of the first guys, buddy.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So you mentioned right there, I was going to ask you this anyway, so let me ask you about this, because obviously I know you guys have a great relationship with DAZN, Fubo TV, like you guys are doing some things, but can I ask, like, we just saw the UFC do this massive $7.7 billion deal with Paramount. We've heard rumors about ESPN being involved in some other things. We know PFL's out there. Can I ask, like, are you still exploring additional TV options for BKFC, especially in this market where all these streaming services are trying to gain a foothold on the competition? And it seems to me like BKFC would be a huge land for one of them.
Yeah, I think everything was kind of on pause while everybody was scratching their head and going, "Where's the UFC going to end up?" And everybody bet on Netflix, right? Everybody did, and it ended up it came out of nowhere with Paramount, who we were actually in talks with, but we're definitely. Look, they're all reaching out to us right now. So we're in talks with all of them, and we're also in talks with DAZN to have a bigger and more robust deal with them. So nothing's really off the table, but there's a lot of great options here. I'm hoping to be able to announce the docuseries and who we're doing that docuseries with and where that's going to land in the next 2 weeks. But that's going to be a big start to really even more mainstream awareness for BKFC.
Is there any part of you that wants to kind of follow a little bit what the UFC has done in terms of like making everything available under a subscription versus like the pay-per-view model? Because you guys have kind of gone away from that in a lot of ways. And I know that like it's almost like antiquated these days. Outside of like a couple big boxing matches a year, it's hard to get people to plunk down $30, $40, $50, $60 for anything. So like, is there a hope that maybe this could become even more accessible?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I don't think any promoter wants to do pay-per-views. You know, I think some of the price tags of the events, they're forced to do pay-per-views, and we might be forced to do a few more pay-per-views. But at the end of the day, as everybody's going away from pay-per-view, they're going away from paying that high dollar. They are going to subscription. They're going to ad revenue. They're going to a lot of different ways of monetizing these events, and we're probably going to join that.
Yeah. So now to that point, obviously I don't want to take any attention away from the other big events you got, but you had so many big announcements the last few weeks. Obviously the massive press conference, Yoel Romero signing, Derek Brunson signing, and then you get this big Newark event, you do the press conference. So let me just start with Newark, because this is obviously the return of Mike Perry. We've all been kind of anticipating this. Jeremy Stevens, I know he asked for it. When I've talked to him, he was begging for this Mike Perry fight. He wanted it. So was that a part of making this fight, knowing how badly Jeremy wanted it? Like I know he was very outspoken how much he wanted to fight Mike Perry.
I was a little concerned with him coming up in weight, but, you know, we talked and he kind of alleviated my concerns. I was in really serious talks with Darren Till. We were really close to it, and then it just fell down. It just didn't happen, and he's doing that boxing event this weekend. That could be a possibility in the future. But I think if you talk about who are the two baddest men in BKFC, meaning like they'll eat punches and they'll throw punches back, I think you got both of them guys fighting each other on October 4th.
Yeah. Can I ask you about the Darren Till thing? Because I talked to Mike yesterday and I asked him, I said, should we just move on? Because it just seems like no matter how much we've tried to put this together, it just doesn't happen. I've talked to Darren and he said like he's not opposed to bare knuckle, but he does admit like it is kind of worrisome. And I appreciate his honesty with that. So like in your head, like, is there a point of no return where you just say, I'm not going to even try anymore? Because I know you've done this a couple of times where you've talked about the financial package you've offered. And it's like, at what point do you just say, he just doesn't want to do this?
I think we talk right after this fight. As contracts up with Misfits, we'll see if he renegotiates it. They're great people, so I'm not going to step on their toes. But I think we have an opportunity to do something one more time. And if it falls through again, then of course, man, I would have to be stupid to keep going back there. But if Mike does win, and he's got a tough fight, look, this is not a walkover in Jeremy Stephens. This is a tough fight. So if Mike wins and Darren Till wins, we could try to have that equation.
I mean, let's be honest. I don't think a lot of people pick Jeremy Stephens to beat Eddie Alvarez. Then he goes out there and breaks his jaw and wins the fight. So I mean, let's not discount what Jeremy Stephens is capable of.
No, absolutely. I mean, and he can punch. I mean, he's the hardest punching 145 pounder in the world. He's fighting at 175 pounds now. Now, does that make it that he doesn't punch as hard, or does that mean that extra 30 pounds or 20 pounds or 10 pounds, whatever, from the last time he fought, does it mean that makes him punch harder? And we're going to find out on October 4th. I really think this has potential to be fight of the year.
Yeah, unbelievable fight. Can I ask, you also mentioned, I know you talked about for a long time being in talks with Robbie Lawler. I know it didn't work out. He obviously sounds like he's going to stay retired. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because I talked to Frankie Edgar last night, and Frankie had said, yeah, I'm actually still under contract with the UFC, but they gave me permission. They released me so I could go do my BKFC fight. And I know you kind of mentioned like something. So what, like, have we moved on from Robbie completely? Like, do we just believe he's staying retired at this point?
Yeah, I think him, after getting inducted into the Hall of Fame again, I think he's happy with where he's at. Great guy, man. I mean, a beast, a legend, did so many things in the sport. It wasn't him at all. It wasn't his management team. It was just one of those things that we just couldn't get the numbers to work the right way with the UFC involved. And we moved on. They moved on. And look, if he wants to revisit it, we'll always be willing to welcome Robbie Lawler into BKFC. But I think he's going to enjoy his retirement, and he should. I mean, he's had so many wars, and he's a legend.
And I know, like I said, because you guys have always maintained a really good relationship with the UFC. I mean, that's worked before, and I know in past fights that's happened as well. And Frankie told me like flat out, because I thought maybe he was out of contract. He's like, no, I was in contract. I called, talked to Hunter. They gave me my release. So there's no you guys continue to have a good working relationship with the UFC.
I mean, there's no sense not to for us. Like there's a lot of other organizations out there that talk bad about the guys that are beating them in competition, but why? Like, why would you talk bad about them? Why not rub elbows with them and get help from them and see how you guys can work together and just be the biggest and best sport you can be possibly? You don't need to go and shit on other promotions. You just don't need to do that. I don't do it. I know there are a lot of other promotions out there that do that, but I'll never be one of those, because I think the reason why we did grow faster than anybody's expectations, Damon, is we just focus on ourselves.
And to that point, can I ask, because I noticed your card, of course, is going the same night as UFC 320 in Vegas, but it seems like you guys are having an earlier start time. Was that done on purpose, so it's just not like necessarily going head to head? Or because I mean, you guys have your own audience. Like I'm not saying like UFC is not going to be a big deal. They got 2 title fights that night, great card, but it does seem like 5 p.m. start time a little earlier. So was that on purpose, not to like necessarily just go head to head with the UFC card, or how did that work out?
Well, what we did is we actually had the date first, or I would never have picked the date to go against the UFC pay-per-view. We're not at this point. I just wouldn't have done that. But we picked the date, and then we got everything organized. And then right before we announced it, they announced our October 4th event. And we go, oh, man, this is horrible, man. Our first event here. So we decided it's actually a 6 p.m. start time, 5 p.m. doors. We'll be completely done the event by 10 p.m. Perfect time to go watch the UFC event, because I know there's a lot of crossover fans here, and I know they want to watch both events, and they're going to have time to watch both events. So it was designed so we didn't overlap too much. I mean, we're going to overlap with some of their prelims, but their main card we're not really going to overlap with. And I think it was done on purpose, and hopefully it works out for everybody.
I remember having a conversation with you when you guys signed Diego Sanchez and you brought him in, and you said, listen, Diego got cleared. We're good to go. We're going to see how it goes. And he went and had that one fight. Obviously, a tough opponent, obviously a champion now in BKFC, and he didn't come back. And you were very honest about that. So I know there's been some concern about Frankie, because, he left the UFC on a 3-fight losing streak on knockouts. Now, I talked to Frankie last night, And he said flat out, like, yes, people show concern, but I promise you, like, I'm in great shape. I'm not killing my body as much because I'm not going through an entire MMA camp, which is a whole other animal. So what was your thought process in bringing Frankie in? Because I think that was the initial reaction. It seemed like he was one of those guys who was going to stay retired, and out of nowhere, he's fighting in BKFC.
Yeah, we just started talking to his management team, and they brought him up, and I was like, I'm just not 100% sure because he is retired. He was happy in retirement, but it was New Jersey, it was Newark, New Jersey, like the home of Frankie Edgar. And then I looked into it a little more. I looked into his losses. There was some knockout losses by knees and kicks and elbows, but nothing by punches. And I just said, you know what, let's give this thing a shot. So we gave it a shot. And I still wasn't sold on it until I saw him spar this weekend. I went out to watch him spar, and I'm completely sold on it 100%. It's a different Frankie Edgar. It's a light on his feet Frankie Edgar. It's a volume punching Frankie Edgar. It's a hard punching Frankie Edgar. I saw everything I needed to see. The one thing I was looking for this weekend, I just wanted to make sure his legs didn't look like kind of like they were in quicksand. And they weren't. He's moving around on his feet. He's punching, putting punches together. He looked good. He did everything I needed him to do. And I was happy with it. So I don't have, I did have 10, 15% pause on it. I was like, I'm just still not sure. And then after watching him train this Saturday, I'm 100%.
I know he said he brought in, he's working with Eddie Alvarez, which I know that's a great benefit to have a guy like that, a guy who's a BKFC veteran. So I'm sure that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and Eddie Alvarez is a coach as well. And the thing I like about him is, as you saw, he stopped 2 fights with Eddie with us because he's not a brave trainer. So there's a lot of brave trainers out there that'll just throw their fighter in. They want to make the commission, the 10%, 15%, whatever they're getting paid, and they'll throw him in against anybody. This guy's not. And that's why I was confident when he said, no, we're good. And then I watched him spar. I'm confident. Listen, he could get knocked out by Jimmy Rivera. Jimmy Rivera is a bad dude. He could get knocked out, but I think it's a good Frankie Edgar going in there. It's not the best Frankie Edgar we've ever seen. It's not a great Frankie Edgar. It's a very good Frankie Edgar coming on October 4th.
Now, I don't want to take attention away from the cards you have scheduled, Dave, but of course, when you did this big press conference, you announced a massive tournament coming up. We know guys have already been volunteering. Ben Rothwell's not stopped talking about it. I know you got Yoel Romero. I mean, I'm just thinking, how soon do you think we'll start hearing the names that you're going to start putting in this massive tournament?
I think probably November, December, you're going to hear the names. It's going to launch either March or April, depending on the date of the venue. We did announce March. Could be April just because, like I said, the date of the venue. And I think people are going to get really excited. Some of the people, some of the fighters fighting people are never going to have heard of before. And they're the guys that, we're going to create stars out of them through this process. And some of them are going to be like, wow, that guy's in it. And wow, that guy's in it. And I'll tell you what, the guys that they're going to go wow on are taking a massive pay cut at a chance for that $15 million.
I mean, that's such a huge tournament. Like I said, I'm sure. I mean, I can only imagine how much your phone is blowing up with guys being like, hey, how do I get in this tournament?
Everybody. I mean, I just had, Max Crosby is one of our investors. He hit me up today. He said, this guy's calling me up. He wants to fight. This guy's, I mean, they all want to get involved, but it also has to make sense. They have to be the right guy. I mean, everybody wants to get involved, but I want to make sure that we give the fans really like devastating knockouts and great, great fights. Like nothing where you get hit in the back of the head, you take a knee, you quit. Like, I mean, I'm talking, I want to give them wars. I want to give them really the best tournament they've ever seen. And that's what we're aiming to do with this World's Baddest Man tournament.
Absolutely. Last thing before I get you out here, Dave, of course, we know over the last couple of years, Conor McGregor has become a massive part of BKFC. His appearances, I mean, that press conference, him staring down with Perry and getting involved with Dave Mandel. It was so much fun. Dave Mandela. It was just a really, really fun occasion. When Conor's there, it's a show. Now, you said with this last press conference, Conor's really focused on his return. He wants to fight at the White House card. So can I ask kind of a two-part question? One, which is, are you able to have Conor just kind of step back while he's preparing for his return? And now that he is returning and he seems serious, I know Dana said, I take him seriously. He's doing it. He has 2 fights left on his UFC deal. Are we thinking, is it really going to happen? Is he going, like the BKFC day? Everyone's like, oh, it's not really going to happen. He's not really going to fight in BKFC. I get the sense he's serious about it.
I mean, I think that he's very serious about what he's doing with his comeback fight. He's going to do that fight. I mean, unless something really crazy off the wall happens, this truly, really is the best Conor McGregor I've seen. Now, I haven't known him forever, but I've known him for 2 years. And this is the best Conor I've ever seen. Focused, training. we had some conversations, me and Connor, and I just said, bro, I mean, you're the biggest legend that ever hit the fight game, really, almost. Just, let's get back in there and train. And he's doing everything that I think a fighter should do at this point. He's got a long time to go before that July 4th card next year. So if he can maintain his focus, which I have no reason to believe he won't, and maintain his training and focus on everything, he's got a great shot of being the old Conor McGregor. And then part two of your question, do I think he'll get? I think it depends on the outcome of the White House card, right? If he wins the White House card, which I have every reason to believe, no matter who he fights, he's going to win, because they're going to match him against someone that is going to be an even fight for him. They're not going to match him against some young stud that maybe he shouldn't be matched against at this stage of his career. But they're going to match him right. I know they are, because it would make sense for the promotion. If he wins, if he looks good in that fight, he's going to fight another fight. And if that happens, then I would bet 100% he'll fight for BKFC. Why wouldn't he? What will he do for the valuation of the company if he fights for BKFC? He'll double or triple it, and then he just doubled or tripled his interest in this. And that's way more than he's going to get fighting anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that's what people miss. Like, he's invested in this, and why not pay off on your own investment, right?
I mean, he's going to get paid for it, because we're going to have investors come in for that fight, and then he'll get, double or triple the valuation of the company. I mean, it's a no-brainer and a win-win for everybody. But, he has business to take care of first. And I do have to say, honestly, again, Damon, super, super focused. The most focus I've ever seen. He will be at our event this Saturday in Montenegro. We're doing an event in Montenegro on August 30th. He'll be there. I'll be there. And, I'll get to see him in person again and talk to him a little bit. And then we have some September events he won't be at. He will be at the October 4th event in Newark, obviously that big event. And then, we might not see him the rest of the year at a BKFC event. I'm not sure. And we'll just see about the, how his training's going and what he's doing with training for his next fight. And, I wish him the best. He's an amazing person. He's done so many things great for this company. And I really, really like the guy and respect the guy. And, I wish him the best in everything he does.
And then we can see Dave Feldman. We can see Dave Feldman front and center at the White House card. We can see you sitting there supporting Conor. I'm sure you will be.
Tell Dana to step into the ring.
I love it. Dave, it is always a pleasure to catch up. Obviously, congratulations again on all your success. As I said, you guys are not slowing down. You guys are keep going. Hopefully, we'll still see you in Ohio sooner than later. I want to see that myself. And thank you as always for the time.
Well, I just want to tell you before you go, I got a huge Ohio card planned.
Okay.
We're trying to work out the date. It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. So we just don't want to hit the snow. Probably March or April of next year. But it's a huge, massive Ohio card. You're going to love it.
I will be there front and center. I promise you.
All right, buddy. Thank you.